I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and co-owner of PurePleasureShop.com.
I'm April, VP of the cutting-edge sex toy company Hot Octopus, and I dedicate my life to the business of sex.
We are on a mission to teach you how to have hot sex, deep intimacy, and how to make your own rules for who you are as a sexual being.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Podcast. April and I are recording from two different states. I'm in California where we live, and she's in Idaho.
Idaho. It's really beautiful here. I want you to come here, Amy.
I want to come. You've been doing all kinds of fun outdoor adventures and hiking and nature time.
We live in such a beautiful place ourselves in California, but Idaho's pretty special. Just a lot of backcountry, not as many people, so I'm really enjoying it. It's a reset. I hope everybody's able to get out in nature this summer. If it's summer where you are, this is August. Anal August, Amy. It's Anal August.
It's Anal August, everyone. Yeah, and this episode's great timing for Anal August. It is on Prostate 101. And it's a really informative episode. We've done episodes on prostate play, prostate pleasure, prostate health before. This is with someone who actually works specifically in the sex toy industry for a company called Aneros making prostate toys. April and I love Anal August. It's one of our favorite months, right, April?
Yes, and I've been a fan of Aneros since I worked at Pure Pleasure back in the day when I was like, what is that thing, Amy? That looks like a interesting, it looked like a elevated butt plug, but it had all these curves and different shapes they make so many products now, but they are an awesome company. And we have a friend that, can we say his name?
Sure.
Our Backstreet Boy friend. He's not
Brent.
We
who works
love
at
him.
Aneros. Yeah.
He works at Aneros, and he's one of my industry favorites. And he's not the one we're interviewing, but I'm going to say a lot of anal puns on this show. But
no pun intended. Yes.
We're doing an Instagram contest too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Instagram. Go check out our Instagram, everyone. I don't even think we finalized it because we're recording this before the release date. But go check it out. There should be some fun prizes to give away. We should probably work on that after this.
We will. I know. We have to see each other. We haven't seen each other in forever, Amy.
I miss you. So Anal August, what is that about? It's Anal Health and Pleasure Awareness Month. So it's a good opportunity to learn more about your ass or someone else's ass consensually. There's a lot of pleasure to be had and a lot of health benefits to certain aspects of anal play. Go check out our Instagram, and it'll probably have something educational and informative with some awesome opportunities to win awesome prizes. And so some other announcements today. We have some testimonials to read to you from various listeners. We'll read a bio. I just want to announce I'm also teaching an online workshop on August 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's G-Spots, P-Spots, which is the prostate, and Squirting 101. If you go check out minxandmuse.com, that's minxandmuse.com, you can sign up, and it's a live workshop on Zoom, so we'll be able to see each other's faces, or you can always black out your screen if you don't want me to see your face.
What's the Minx and Muse?
It is a woman-owned and operated I think they did in-person workshops. So sex and sexual empowerment and dance, sexual kind of sensual dance workshops, but now they're doing it online. So yeah, it's cool. I checked out before they even contacted me. I saw their website. Her name is Crimson. And she's doing some really cool things. So
I just like the name Minx and Muse. It sounds so mysterious.
Yeah, come learn about G-spots, P-spots, and squirting for Anal August. G-spot, well, that's not anal, but and we all know what squirting is.
You can access the G-spot though if you put pressure with like a plug in your bum. You can have, if you have vaginal penetration, you can access some G-spot action.
This is true. I've had some awesome orgasms from indirect stimulation, the G-spot, from anal stimulation.
Me too.
So have you.
Me too. Yeah. That's magic too. It's because it's a surprise.
Ooh, surprise!
Here's your prize.
All right, we're gonna do some reviews and testimonials. So here's an iTunes review. If you haven't reviewed us on iTunes, please do. It helps people find us. Just go press pause right now, get on there and review us. We love 5 stars. This listener, we love this review. We just got it recently. I'm a new listener, and already I want to scream this show from the rooftops. I am a firm believer that the final frontier is women's with a Y in there, WOMYN'. Sexual liberation, that a fully liberated woman is the answer to what ails our planet. I am so grateful to April and Amy for doing this work. It is a crucial part of the revolution. Healthy, fulfilling, empowering sex, equal pay, healthcare for all, justice, equality, LGBTQ plus rights, immigration rights, BIPOC thriving. Let's go. We want it all in 2020. Mask up and orgasm. So good.
Wow, that's a badass review that I am really thankful to receive. Thank you for that review. I mean, that is going to give me the power to continue on this journey with you, Amy, for people like this that love us. Because we do sometimes get a little bit of the haters, and I get sad. Amy's always like, Chip, don't read that review, okay? I'll read it. Because I like it. It like literally bums me out to the point where I will lose sleep over some random like rumple foreskin talking about how he made him want to jump off a cliff. And I'm like, God, am I that bad? Because we're putting ourselves out there. We're being vulnerable. We don't ever claim to be big experts about anything, but we have opinions. We're human, and we try to educate ourselves and bring on folks to educate everyone else about the stuff that we don't know too much about. So getting a review like this really does empower me. So thank you for that, y'all.
Thank you, listener. We love you.
And as Amy said, write us a review. We love
write us a review. iTunes, 5 stars.
Yeah. And you can check out some of our funny / bad reviews on our Instagram as well, on our IGTV. Also, we didn't say this, but you can buy some Shameless Sex swag on our website. We have a little banner, so click that and go get your onesie on.
Get your onesie on. All the proceeds are being donated to the NAACP, so for Black Lives Matter. And there's t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies. Again, as April said, go to our website and scroll down on the banner. You'll see some t-shirts on there. Go buy something.
Did we get ours yet, Amy?
It should be here any day. We'll do a photo shoot for you all.
Yeah, we're going to do a photo shoot. Okay. So we have another testimonial here. Ooh. And we can say their name. So Damien says, I really love listening to your podcast. I have sent so much and it helps me. I have sent so much. What does that mean? I have sent so much and it has helped me and my wife.
Probably I've learned so much or something.
Okay. We're going to go with I have learned so much and it has helped me and my wife. Oops. Listen to the birth control episode. I didn't really understand it until I lived it. My wife had the implant removed and within days she changed. She was happier and her sexual desires awoke with a vengeance. Wow. Keep up your wonderful work. Thanks you, Damien. Sorry about the mix-up. I didn't pre-read that, and so
my B.
Yeah, but I think it was just an error on some. It happens.
Yeah, we love this feedback that we've had actually a lot of feedback from folks listening to the birth control episodes about how it changed their lives or their partners' lives. A lot of people just don't know about the effects of birth control, how it can change your libido, your body's functioning, and people will be living that way for years, and then they hear that and they change something, they just switch birth control or they get off birth control, and all of a sudden they're a whole different human.
Well, that happened to me, and that I don't know if that happened to you, Amy, at all when you've tried different methods, but the moment I got off of birth control, it took maybe 6 to 8 months, but my sex drive totally shifted and my relationship with my body shifted. Like I could tell when my periods were coming, and with the birth control, it was weird, but it's not like we're anti-birth control because we understand that there's not a lot of options, but there are some really smart people out there with research that shows some of the damage that it can do to us.
Yeah, we did that one episode with Sarah Hill.
This
is Your Brain on Birth Controls.
And Jolene Brighton as well.
Jolene Brighton. But Dr. Sarah Hill comes from a research perspective, and she says that she lists all these different types of hormonal birth control. But people always just think like there's the pill and there's the patch, and they must work the same for all bodies, and that they all work so differently for everyone. So a lot of really interesting information there. But this is why we have this podcast, so that we can learn more about these things that we didn't even know as well. So thanks, Damien. We're glad that things have changed and you're having lots of awesome sex with your partner.
Banging it out, just banging it out all day.
They're making love, April.
Oh, sorry. What about a little bit of anal penetration?
Ooh, can't get pregnant that way. All right. So
yeah, there you go.
It's safe. Except that you can get STDs and STIs.
Anal. That should be the tagline. Anal. The best form of birth control since 1755. Probably before that, but
yeah, way before that.
Helping population control since, I mean, right? Really?
It's true.
It's not a bad idea.
It's a good route. Everyone, people are like, all right, I'm sold on anal.
We're going to put that on a t-shirt soon.
Ooh. Oh my God. I'd wear that shirt.
I would too. And we'd probably get tomatoed somewhere.
We should go wear it next time we go to visit Utah.
For sure. Maybe into it.
I think so. All right. One other piece of feedback before we do the bio and dive into the podcast. All right. So this is from another listener. We got this in the last week. I love this review, by the way. I just recently started listening. The breakup episode was amazing. It felt like being a part of your grieving process, and everyone is in need of more intimacy these days, even if it really is just virtual. Your ex, this is to me, sounds like a complete tool, Amy. I know it feels mature to say he's amazing, but he's probably not. He probably doesn't deserve you.
Ooh, dog. So now, update. Let's give them a brief update.
So, I mean,
first of all, no longer an ex, unless they're talking about your previous ex before your current.
So when I read this, I was like, oh, he's talking about my previous ex. You know, not this
two
one.
ago.
But he's actually talking about the person in the breakup episode. So I still love this dude. I actually shared this with my was my ex for a month.
They took a 3-week break. Okay,
it was a month.
No, sorry. Okay. It was a long month. It was very long.
And I shared this with him, and he was cracking up. He was like, "Yeah, I probably deserve that." But anyways. Yes, I realize I haven't updated, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because we want to dive into the prostate episode. But what happened with the breakup episode? We literally broke up. He broke up with me. He was gone. And it happened in a matter of from one day being like, "Oh, I love you. I want this." The next day, I can't do this, and was gone. And so we recorded the breakup episode a couple days later because he was gone. And what ended up happening was I think I shared a little bit on the episode. He's coming out of a 20-year relationship and has kids and never really grieved that relationship before we fell in love, and just hit a point of needing to go and do that, needing to be out of a relationship to do that. So what ended up transforming over time, over days and the weeks, where he was doing a lot of therapy and doing a lot of crying and feeling, and he'd be like, I'm laying on my floor every day alone crying and just feeling all the feels and the emotions. And he ended up realizing that it wasn't that he fully needed to leave this relationship forever. It was that he just needed this time to be out of relationship to feel all the things he never felt before. And so we started to have a little more contact here and there, and we actually did reunite recently and are back together. And I actually respect him even more through all of this because he wasn't manipulating me. He wasn't lying to try to keep me around, because he didn't know when we actually broke up what was going on. If we would,
he knew that he loved you. I mean, that was very.
But he didn't
obvious.
know what that meant. He didn't know. Does that mean that he's going to need to be on his own forever, or for 6 weeks or for 6 months, and didn't want to put my life on hold. So instead, he was just very honest with me about it as the process went along. And so I respect him more because I have had situations where there has a manipulation, partners saying things to me to keep me around, even though deep down they had doubt about our relationship. And that isn't really fair. And sometimes people do that on accident. But anyways, so just want to share with all you listeners, we are reunited. It feels really good. It feels really right. It feels really very true. And it feels like instead of it being this complete breakup and it's over, it was more like just I needed to give him space, and we weren't together during that time. I had permission to do whatever the fuck I wanted, but I wasn't in any position to be intimate with anyone else at that time. And it was hard. It's hard to give someone space and to be like, okay, I want you right now, but I can't have you. But sometimes you need to. If you love someone so much, you do need to let them go, to let them do their work if that's what they need. And it's a hard thing to do, but
it really is. Yeah. I am a huge supporter of providing space and giving space and asking for space. Although for me, I'm much more of the end all be all. Like, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
If they're like, I need space, I'm like, you don't love me.
Yeah.
Because on that breakup episode, I was also going through some major shifts in my relationship because it's just so heavy right now with all of the things, like the energy on the planet is heavy. And I was experiencing that fully. And a lot of the things that I was passionate about, like my travel and building my career, and all of those things were sort of on hold as well. And I just was held up in my house, kind of being a little bit like crazy.
Yeah.
And
you're living with your partner at the same time, and they're going through stuff too.
Yeah. So it was a lot. And I energetically understood why there was a need for an air out situation on my end. And it was funny because you went through the same exact thing that I was going through, but I live with my partner and we've been together for, almost over 3 years now, I guess. And so it changes things when you live with them. It also, it's never easy when you're in a relationship. It has easy moments, but it's never just fully easy. It really isn't. The longer you're in, the harder it gets.
And a lot of people are going through this. And so you and your partner are in Idaho together, and you're still together, and you've done some therapy and worked through some things, and you're still working through some things. But
I'm healing my inner child now, Amy.
I know, it's powerful work, and I think that's important work in a relationship for each person to do their own individual work on their stuff and to do the work within a partnership. And I think both of those things are really important things that need to happen in a lot of relationships, all relationships probably.
Yeah. Well, it really is a collaboration, and whether you're with one person or many people in a partnership, it takes a lot. We have all this stuff going on in our brains all the time. So anyway, congrats on getting back with your partner. I mean, woo-hoo! I knew that, and I'm happy that y'all are in a better space, and I like to see Amy happy. When Amy's not happy,
everyone's unhappy. Just kidding.
All right. Should we read Forrest's bio here?
Yeah.
All right. So Forrest Andrews is the product and business development manager of Aneros. His relationship with Aneros began in 2002, and he's played an important role in the evolution of the company and their products ever since. The impact on him was life-changing, turning around a decades-old health condition while revealing a powerful new orgasmic experience he would later call the Super O. After a series of productive conversations with the owners of the company, Forrest became their sole tester and product consultant. And he also mentored hundreds of men, helping them transition to new levels of sensual awareness through prostate massage. In 2016, Forrest was offered the opportunity to become Aneros' manager of product and business development, where he now supervises the creation and launch of their award-winning products. To learn more, check out the Aneros line at purepleasureshop.com. And remember, you can get 15% off when you use the code Shameless.
No, Shameless Sex.
Shameless Sex.
My bad.
It's on our website, all of our codes you can access. All right, it's interview time, y'all. But first...
In sex ed, we learn how to prevent pregnancy, but what about when it comes to planning ahead for it? That's why Modern Fertility was created. It's the easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Mail it in with a prepaid label, and you'll get your personalized results within 10 days.
You'll not only get insight into how many eggs you have and your hormone levels, but you'll also learn about any potential reproductive red flags. The results go in depth into what every hormone means, and you can also talk one-on-one with the fertility nurse to review your results and options for the next steps. And right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off your test when you go to modernfertility.com/shameless. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or even thousands it could cost at a doctor's office. That's $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/shameless. Again, modernfertility.com/shameless. Go check it out. And now back to the show.
All right, everyone, it is episode time. We are here with Forrest from Aneros. We're super excited about this because guess what? Everyone, you probably already heard this in the intro, and we already read Forrest's bio. Forrest's. It's Anal August, our favorite month. Woohoo! Oh, we also love Masturbation May. We love any excuse to celebrate sex, but Anal August is extra special to us. And so this is perfect timing. We've done Prostate 101 episodes before. We did one with Charlie Glickman, who also loves the Aneros products. He wrote the book, The Ultimate Guide to Prostate Pleasure or Play or Pleasure and Health or something like that. Yeah. But this will be from a new perspective, especially from someone who actually works in the sex toy industry. So Forrest, super excited to have you here. And we always start with the same question, as you know. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got to be where you are today, working in the world of sex toys, specifically around prostate toys?
Well, that's a deep subject.
Deep. Oh, no pun intended.
Yes. Well, thanks, Amy, for the intro, first of all. But for me, it started a long time ago, actually. My story, so to speak, of how I wound up here. And it was back when I was around 27 years old. I developed prostatitis. For your listeners who are not familiar with what that is really just an inflammation of the prostate gland. I was one of the unlucky guys who got this at an early age and developed it in a chronic fashion. And so it would kind of wax and wane. It would be there for a while and then it would go away. I went to must have been 4 or 5 doctors to try to nail the problem down. They put me on all sorts of different antibiotics. I was on one for over 2 years. You can imagine that, taking an antibiotic for 2 years. But it never really seemed to work. I tried different diets, nutritionals, and it never seemed to really do anything for me. So I really kind of suffered with it. This was what they call idiopathic, that is to say that there wasn't really any cause. I didn't have a bacterial infection or anything like that, but this thing just continued and it went on really for decades. And I finally came to a point at one time where I started looking for alternative, and so I went online and I think I hooked up with it was like a holistic site. And there was some discussion about prostate massage on there, and prostate massage, being a way that you could treat prostatitis. So the thing is at the time, as it turns out, prostate massage wasn't something that was really practiced, in terms of the medical community. I found out years later, which I'll get into, that at one time that it was kind of the standard of treatment. But it wasn't like I could go to a doctor, to deal with this. So the only other way to go would be like a sex worker. And I felt a little bit squeamish about that because, heaven knows, and I could pick somebody who didn't, have any idea of really how to deal with it on a therapeutic level. And I wasn't really looking for a sexual level. So I started looking for ways that I could kind of self-administer. It's really what it came down to. And I looked for different products, and there were dills that were out there, or vibrators that had kind of a angled end. And, but I didn't think that was really going to, do the trick for me. I did happen across a particular item. And as it turned out, this product was designed specifically for what I was looking for. And this was a product that enabled you to use your own anal contractions to power it. And it produced a massage of the prostate. So I picked one of these things up. And, bear in mind, once again, I was after the therapeutic. The first time that I used this, within about 5 minutes, I was slammed with the most powerful orgasm that I had ever had in my entire life. And I'm talking about something that started like in the pelvis and just radiated over my entire body. It went on for minutes. And strangely enough, there was no ejaculation either. I mean, it was something that was completely beyond my frame of reference. And I didn't really understand it, So I reached out to the company, and it was like, got somebody on the phone. So what gives with this, And the young man who had answered at that time, he told me that they had some people calling in and that had, similar stories about that, and that it seemed to be like something that certain people were experiencing. So fade out, fade in. Several months later, I didn't have another bout of prostatitis. That situation seemed to completely go away. And over the period of, it's like about 3 or 4 months, I was just having these slamming orgasms. And it was quite something. It really was. I mean, it was like discovering you could fly, but at the same time, who was I going to tell about this? I couldn't really, I didn't think it was quite real. That's really what it was. And so again, I reached out to the company. At that point, they didn't really have, any forum. They just had a guest book that you can kind of sign into and, leave comments. And so I had some discussions with them about starting up a forum, which they did. I encouraged them to do that. And I became a major contributor in that forum. I basically started chronicling all of my experience with this orgasm that I would later call Super O, because it was just, this overpowering, orgasm. So I spent some time, as I say, chronicling a lot of this and writing down, what my experience was. And, a relationship developed with the company over a period of time. They kind of liked, how I communicated. And they asked me if I wanted to become a tester of their products and, consult with them on these. And so from 2003, actually until the present time, I should say, I became a tester of their products. And I helped them design these products from that moment on. For many years, it was really as an unpaid consultant. I mean, it was something that I did for passion, quite frankly. I had a business at that time. And from time to time, they would have me go and with them and doing personal appearances like in Europe and across the United States for purposes of being able to do testimonial for the product. And honestly, to be able to give some basis for this phenomenon, which was this prostate orgasm. So that continued, and up until about 2016. At that point, I actually sold a long-time partnership that I was in, and I was made an offer by the company to come and join them as their product and business development manager. And the rest, as they say, is history.
And this is Aneros, the company that you're currently at now.
This is the company Aneros, yes.
Aneros, I love Aneros. I've been aware of Aneros since I got in the sex toy industry when I was in about 2008, and heard about it in the same regard, the same kind of story, that it was a product that was originally designed for health purposes, and then people were like, ooh, there's pleasure here too.
Yes.
And there's a lot. Yeah, two birds, one stone, the best of both worlds.
A happy accident, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a wonderful accident. So for our listeners who are new to prostate play, or prostate pleasure, I should say, can you just give them like a little 101, like what is it? Where is this mysterious prostate? How does someone access it?
Okay. Well, the prostate is a small muscular gland. It's about the size of a walnut. And it's located between the bladder and rectum, with people assigned male at birth and cisgender men. Now, it's also known as the P spot or male G spot, or sometimes even the walnut. The word prostate actually comes to us from a Greek word prostatis, which means stands before or in front of, which describes its position in the body, if you were to look at a diagram of the body. So the prostate plays several important roles in the male reproductive system that your listeners should know about. First, it produces one of the fluids that makes up the cocktail that we know as semen or ejaculate. Prostate fluid contains nutrients that help sustain sperm and a substance that actually keeps semen in a liquid state. Second, it provides some of the pumping force that propels semen out of the body in an ejaculation. And third, and most importantly for our discussion, is covered by a bundle of sensory nerves that are known as the prostatic plexus that are involved with sexual arousal. So that's basically what it is. Would you be interested in hearing a little bit of a history about it?
Yeah, tell me all about prostate history.
Okay, well, hold on to your hat because I'm going to condense about 5,000 years into about 5 minutes. So here we go. Anyway, decades ago, the idea of prostate massage or stimulation was synonymous in most men's minds with one thing, which is the discomfort of a digital rectal exam, the hands of a ham-handed physician with oversized fingers.
Ouch.
Right. But over the last 18 years, a different kind of concept has taken hold. That of the prostate as a center of intense pleasure and earth-shaking orgasms. Now, I mentioned just a minute ago that historically most men associated the prostate with something medical. And that was pretty much the case in Western culture for a very long time. But the prostate has had a much deeper history reflected in the Eastern teachings of Tantra in India and the Tao in China, a history that actually goes back thousands of years. And as you may know, Tantric teaching describes a system of subtle energy centers in the body called chakras, and they were believed to be the basis of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. The prostate was associated with the first, or root chakra, and the second, or sacral chakra. Now, balancing energy in these chakras was considered to be the key to achieving well-being. In the case of balancing the first and second chakras, this was attained through a number of techniques, one of which involved massaging the prostate. Now, in Taoist traditions in China, spiritual and physical vitality were said to be derived from a life force called qi. Taoists believed that ejaculation drained qi from the body, and they pointed to fatigue and the sleepiness that guys would get, after having an ejaculation to kind of prove that point. They believed that ejaculation just for sexual purposes depleted qi unnecessarily and should be avoided. So to address sexual desire, Taoists developed a practice that is known today as in-jaculation, not ejaculation, in-jaculation, which was really their take on orgasm without ejaculation. Now, some guys listening to this may be saying to me, what? Orgasm without ejaculation? Short answer, yes, but I'm going to get back to that in a minute. References to prostate massage in Western culture in the meantime for therapeutic or erotic pleasure were pretty much non-existent until 1894. At that point, prostate massage was adopted by the Royal Institute of Massage in Sweden as a therapeutic treatment for prostatitis and BPH. And that spread across Europe and into the United States. And it actually remained the standard of treatment up until the 1960s when they developed focused kind of urogenital antibiotics for treatment of some of these things. But on the sexual front, nothing, or next to nothing. The book, The Human Sexual Response, Masters and Johnson, written back in the 60s, considered to be the Bible for human sexuality at the time, and really for decades to come, had virtually no mention of prostate stimulation for sexual fulfillment. Ironically, one of the few references to it back in the day came in an unlikely source from a book called The Happy Hooker. I'm a former madam who described prostate stimulation as a service for slow clients to hurry them up. But again, in the West, we were pretty slow on the uptake. It wasn't until really the 80s and the emergence of holistic medicine and the New Age movement that there was new openness to what turned out to be some old ideas. Now, one milestone was a series of books by a Taoist master by the name of Mantak Chia.
Oh, I know Mantak. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He rekindled the ancient idea the prostate is a powerful center of sexual and spiritual fulfillment. Chia introduced the West to this practice of ejaculation that I was talking about earlier, formally presenting the idea that orgasm and ejaculation were actually two separate events, not one and the same as most people assume. The problem was, it was hard to believe without some proof, and Chia's technique of orgasm without ejaculation was kind of difficult to master. Still, his work undoubtedly enlightened a lot of people about the potential wonders of the human sexual response, but it ultimately fell somewhat short of connecting prostate stimulation with orgasm in a real way for most people that they could experience for themselves. That connection was not far off, though, and it occurred from a seemingly unlikely source that brought together prostate health and pleasure in an eventful way. Now, the year was 1994 in Tokyo, Japan, where a certain Japanese urologist had been providing patients, his patients with in-office prostate massage. Now, he had a great deal of success in his practice, but he thought if his patients were able to do this in the privacy of their own home, that they'd derive greater benefit from it because they do it more often. So he sought out and he came into contact with a Japanese inventor living in the United States. And by 1996, the first hands-free, self-powered prostate massager was invented and patented. Now, this was anatomically designed. This product was made to work in harmony with a man's body, providing prostate massage from anal contractions only. So for the next several years, the product sold really well as a health device, receiving really good reviews and testimonials from satisfied customers. But at the same time, an increasing number of these people began contacting the company about a peculiar side effect. Does this sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, namely, a completely unexpected, very intense dry orgasm as a result of using the product. Now, over time, so many of those reports came streaming in, the company realized that they had to start marketing the product as a pleasure device as well. And with that, the Aneros brand was born.
Mm.
So, no question about it. This was a turning point in the acceptance and popularity of prostate stimulation. The availability of a device that allowed an individual to explore this in the privacy of their own home was a game changer. Finally, the connection between prostate stimulation and prostate pleasure had been established, and in a real way that people could experience for themselves. And unlike ejaculation that I described earlier, it even offered an alternative for those who weren't able to achieve the prostate orgasm right away, as it turned out to be a really powerful amplifier for ejaculation as well. Now, with the success of Aneros, as you might anticipate, other manufacturers began making products that were more specialized for prostate stimulation. And that ushered in the golden age, so to speak, of prostate play that continues to this day. And that is prostate massage and stimulation history in a nutshell, or shall I say a walnut shell.
Oh, perfect. I was like, the walnut shell. And so my understanding of the prostate then, so it's essentially located between it's on the wall between the bladder and in the rectum.
Uh-huh.
It is best accessed anally.
Correct.
And can you access it externally? So I've heard that if you push up on the taint, that it actually can put pressure on it as well.
Yes, it does. It does. That's absolutely true. It can be massaged externally, and that's kind of one of the interesting things about Aneros products. They actually contact 4 erogenous zones at the same time. There is the perineal acupressure spot that is in the perineum. It massages the anus, it massages the prostate, and our newer designs actually massage a spot outside of the body called the K spot or the Kundalini spot, which is just below the coccyx, the tailbone.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And I've seen your products have expanded. And everyone will give you information about where to buy. We actually, I'll tell you now, we carry them at purepleasureshop.com. You all get 15% off a coupon code, Shameless Sex in all caps. And at the end, we'll have Forrest tell you a little more about which products he recommends for newbies or more intermediate folks. But it's been cool to watch the evolution of these products over the last couple of years because they now there's some that come in a softer silicone, et cetera.
Yes.
So, okay, so we know where the prostate is located. We know the access it anally. We know the history. You described a little bit about prostate orgasm. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How is it different from, like, in terms of the way it feels in your body? And how is it different from the orgasm you have from touching your penis?
Well, it's something. First of all, they're far longer than a traditional orgasm, as I said before. I mean, an orgasm is usually about 5 to 10 seconds in length, depending on the guy. P-spot orgasms or G-spot, male G-spot orgasms, or super O's, as I sometimes call them. These last a lot longer, up to minutes at a time. And they're often generating this whole body orgasmic wave of pleasure. Generally, they're experienced as this intense surging pleasure wave that begins in the pelvis, and particularly in the rectum, the anus, the penis, and the surrounding muscles. And from there, it kind of radiates throughout the entire body. In addition to that, people have been known to have involuntary vocalizations like roars and screams. There's involuntary pelvic thrusting or writhing that sometimes occurs, a sense of soulful release, an energized feeling immediately following orgasm, which is kind of different from an ejaculation in that sense, which usually makes one feel kind of lethargic. And last but not least, these orgasms are repeatable, often occurring in multiples with little or no time in between. Now, I'm sure that there are a lot of the male listeners, once again, that are saying, how is that possible? Well, to understand what that's about, you have to know a little bit about the human sexual response. So here it is, thumbnail. There are 4 phases of the human sexual response. The last one is called the resolution phase. And this is basically a recovery time, okay? When a man ejaculates, there is a secondary stage of the resolution phase called a refractory period. Now, whether a guy has ever heard this term before or not, he knows what this is. Chances are that many of his female friends know what this is too. This is the timeout that guys get that immediately follows ejaculation. It's a total loss of arousal during which you can't have an erection or an orgasm. That time will vary from one guy to the next and actually left several minutes to several hours. But the fact is that ejaculation triggers neurological and biochemical changes that make this inevitable. So when you avoid ejaculation, you avoid the refractory period. And in doing so, you effectively pop the lid off of how many orgasms a man can have. So in this way, it's possible for a man to become multi-orgasmic. So how many orgasms can a man have? Well, to my knowledge, it's never been formally studied. But there was a period of time where I kind of had to see how deep the rabbit hole went.
You had to test yourself.
I had to test it. I just did. I did have to test it.
Poor you.
And well, actually, as it
terrible
turned out,
job.
Yes, it turned out, yes, that's the later part of the story. But in terms of the first part of it, over about a 5.5 hour time period, I had 122 orgasms.
Damn.
And I know that's going to sound like hyperbole, like hype to a lot of people, but the truth of the matter is that it is absolutely possible when you have this type of orgasm. And people who've had this, I think that they can relate to it. I mean, I know a lot of people, who have many, many orgasms, and they enjoy it. Now, 122 was ridiculously extreme. It's something that I would never do again. I was not the same for an entire week. I mean, seriously, it's just, that's just too much dopamine in the system. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was, it really was, it was a learning experience for me. So, again, these are the things that make it different. It has that capacity to it. It's a much more powerful orgasm. It lasts longer, and you're able to repeat it over and over again.
Okay, time for a quick break. This podcast was made possible by Uberlube. It's a luxurious silicone lubricant that enhances sex and intimacy. We receive emails from listeners who have tried Uberlube, and the feedback is unanimous. We never knew lube could be this good. It's also less likely to throw off the pH than most other lubes, and there are thousands of doctors recommending Uberlube to their patients, whether they want to make their hot sex even hotter or for folks experiencing dryness.
Uberlube is without a doubt my favorite lube. It has no flavor, no scent, and feels absolutely amazing on my body. And it isn't just for sex. I use it to tame my hair frizzies, to prevent chafing, and I even put some in my mouth before an oral sex session. Totally ups my blowjob game. Oh, and the bottle, it's beautiful. It looks like a cosmetic product, so I just leave it out on my nightstand, totally shamelessly. To learn why we think it's the best lube on the planet, check out uberlube.com and use code SHAMELESSSEX for 10% off, plus free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com and use code SHAMELESSSEX for 10% off and free shipping.
This podcast was also made possible by omgyes.com. OMGS is a research-based online program that teaches you all about how to pleasure the pussy. OMGS studied thousands of vulva owners to find out how they orgasm and then made beautiful animated modules and super honest short videos to give you ways to reach even more pleasure. I've been recommending OMGS to my clients for years, and it's been changing their lives.
We all know pleasure is fluid and ever-changing, so why not add more tools to your pleasure tool belt? OMGS is for everyone, so whether you are a vulva owner or you just love vulvas, OMGS will give you the techniques to get your O-face on. There are 2 seasons to choose from and hundreds of gorgeous videos to explore, so go see what science says about pleasure and visit omgs.com/shameless. That's omgyes.com/shameless to get $5 off your OMGS access. Again, omgyes.com/shameless. Go check it out. Now back to the show.
And so the reasons why someone might want to have an orgasm without ejaculation, one is that you can have multiple orgasms over and over again. You don't get that refractory period. Are there other reasons, like health benefits to that too?
Sure, definitely. One of the things that I would say right off is that, this makes you a kind of how would I put it, a more powerful lover, because if you are able to have this type of orgasm, and I should say if you're an advanced user, there are some advanced users who can actually choose to either have an ejaculatory orgasm or non-ejaculatory orgasm. So essentially, they can just go on having these super orgasms, let's say during intercourse, but never lose their erection. So in terms of, other benefits like the Super O or the male G-spot orgasm, it's kind of the holy grail of prostate massage, no question about it. But it's not the only fulfillment that it has to offer. Prostate massage is also an excellent amplifier. I kind of mentioned this about every other erotic endeavor you can name. Bear in mind that a certain amount of prostate massage also involves a strong anal component to it as well. So you're getting the stimulation of that prostatic plexus that I mentioned, and that pudendal nerve that runs the length of the penis and it's into the anus. Whether it's giving or receiving oral, hand action, kissing, or intercourse, prostate stimulation amps up everything you're involved in to a higher level. So, and lastly, bear in mind that there's some folks that actually are able to ejaculate from prostate massage too. Mm-hmm. So in terms of health benefits, I've mentioned a few of them. Again, this is with respect to chronic pelvic pain syndrome or chronic prostatitis, a BPH. There's no question it can help with respect to that. In regard to our own product, I will tell you that we have one of the very few products in the adult industry that has actually been studied as a medical device. We had a medical university, Columbia University, that studied our device for purposes of treating BPH and chronic prostatitis, and it was found to be effective in treating those conditions. So there's that. In addition to that, I can sort of speak to again the self-powered prostate massage with respect to Aneros products. It can actually promote stronger erections. Now that's because using the product engages the pelvic floor muscles, and having good pelvic floor muscle tone can increase circulation of the penis too. So you have that. In addition to that, it generates ejaculations with more volume. And now that's pretty obvious why that would be the case. The gland is stimulated, it produces more prostatic fluid, and the massaging action actually presses more of the fluid into the prostatic ducts, during ejaculation. As I'm kind of alluded to this before, it can also be a technique for coping with premature ejaculation. Mm. How? As I mentioned, some of our customers have gained mastery over the prostate orgasm such that they can experience orgasms from thought alone. Okay. These guys have progressed to a point where they can actually choose the type of orgasm as I was talking about. So again, if they find themselves in a position where they find themselves being overstimulated, where they might ejaculate, they can choose not to ejaculate. So there's that. Lastly, it promotes better urinary flow control. Again, this is a great Kegel sizing device. You're engaging the pelvic floor muscles when you anally contract, and it leads to better PC muscle tone, which gives you more control over the urinary flow. So those are just a couple of the sort of extra benefits of prostate.
I don't even have a prostate. I'm sold on it. If I did, I'd be using these all the time. I mean, I guess for vulva owners such as myself, we have, the equivalent would be like Kegel exercisers, Kegel balls and things like that.
Yes.
And my understanding is embryologically, the prostate and the G-spot G area come from the same tissue. They're just put in different places in the body.
It is. This is what's known as homologous tissues. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I have it's kind of my own personal theory about some of this. Way back in the day, I'd taken embryo classes back at SC. And one of the things that you find out, and a lot of people do know, is that all mammalian life starts as female. Males are just basically, and I'm sorry to disappoint anybody out there, are basically differentiated females.
Suckers.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's we have a chromosome for males have a certain chromosome that is responsible for certain hormones kicking in, at a certain point in embryological development. And my feeling is that there are certain vestigial sort of, should we call it, sensory pathways that are left over, from our female roots. And I honestly think that the Super O, this alternate pathway, this prostate pathway, may be one of those things. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I love that. And so, in other words, the penis is just a giant clit, basically.
You're right.
Basically.
Right.
So,
an
yes.
overdeveloped clit.
An overdeveloped one. Yeah. And I think it has around like 8 weeks, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
You get a hormonal wash, and then some people get an XY chromosome. And then there's also other variations. It's not just XX and XY.
Right. True.
True. So, and I love that. I remember learning that in the book Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. That says we're all just made of the same parts, they're just put in different places, and I like that because people think that there's just like they're just so different, the man and the woman. There's so many variations and so many connections. Okay, so you're talking about there's prostate massage, and we can use these prostate stimulators, so the Aneros products, on their own, and you can put them in and do kind of anal Kegels where you clench and release, clench and release, or you can put them in and then do other sexy things, touching the penis, touching other parts of the body, and then when you have an orgasm, the body does those contractions, and then the massager kind of massages the prostate for you, correct?
Yes.
And then there's also prostate milking. What is prostate milking? If you have anything else to say, also, I just described like the different uses, but what the ways that people can pleasure the prostate.
Well, the Aneros devices really were not designed for prostate milking. I have to make that very clear. But that's that's a whole subset that some people get into, and this really involves the expression of fluid out of the prostate, without orgasm. So, it's kind of a whole different bag in of itself. These are people who are into it, not for the pleasure as much, or the orgasmic pleasure of it, but they, enjoy actually releasing fluids, from their body in that way.
That's so interesting. It's probably so. Again, if we're all made of the same parts and they're put in different places, I think of like female ejaculation and how you can like really vigorously and hard, in a really kind of rough, intense way, rub the G spot, and then you can get, push fluid out. But it's often not accompanied with orgasm, that euphoric feeling. So it's probably a similar thing, right?
Yes, it is a similar thing. And this can be done. I mean, I hate to compare it to this, but, certainly some doctors do this on occasion. If you've been to the urologist, they will do this if they want to get a sample, if they do think that you have an infection, something of that sort. But this is, it's a different kind of thing because it takes place in sort of a sexual realm, but it does not involve orgasmic release.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, so it's for folks who are they're looking for that deep release of fluid and not necessarily the euphoric orgasmic release that comes from, and that's where milk, or more for a medical intention, clinical intention for prostate milking. Okay, so that's good to know. We had a sex question from a listener once asking about that, and I was somewhat unfamiliar about what that meant. Okay, so when we talk about the products, then I've seen you have so many different products. We won't be able to talk about all of them, but I think a lot of our listeners are probably going to be more beginner or intermediate. We'll have some advanced people here too. But can you share a little bit about the Aneros products in terms of, like, say someone's they're brand new and they want to use this product for solo play or also with a partner, and then if someone has maybe a little more experience, can you give your recommendations?
I would say that the Helix Syn Trident is a great product that way. It's interesting because it's a great beginner product. And it's great for intermediate and advanced users. But you mentioned that, the product, you wanted something that was not only for solo, but also for couples play. And it's terrific for that. Again, this is a product that is overcoated in silicone. So it tends to be a little bit more comfortable, and it's particularly more comfortable during intercourse. but it's also a very powerful prostate massager in its own right for purposes of solo play, as I said. So, this is great for someone who wants to experience a prostate orgasm, on their own or, with a partner. That's one that I would definitely recommend.
This was the Helix Syn Trident. So when it's Syn, that means it's the silicone one?
That's correct.
Okay,
it actually has a rigid substrate that's underneath it, and it's overcoated in a really, really luxuriant silicone. So it makes it soft to the touch. It makes it a little bit more comfortable for most people.
Okay.
There's another product that we make called the UFO Syn Trident. And I tend to recommend that for people that are real newbies. It was funny because it was originally designed for advanced users. And to be honest, in terms of sort of seeking that super O, that male G-spot orgasm, it is best in the hands, or shall I say, in the sphincter of a user who has really good muscle tone and who has some experience. But it's actually a lower diameter. It's a smaller size product that we make. And for that reason, I also recommend it to people as kind of an icebreaker. Because if they've never been involved in anal before, and if they've certainly never done prostate massage before, this is a great way to sort of jump on board with that. So that is the UFO Syn Trident.
Okay. For everyone, you're like, how do I spell all these things? We'll put them in, look in the show notes on our website or on the podcast app. I'll put all the names of these and links in here too. So you said that one's, so UFO Syn Trident is good for the super newbies because it's a little smaller, or for folks who are more advanced but have like stronger muscles. And then the Helix Syn Trident is great for all levels, and as well as solo and couples play.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'll be sir. You can call me sir. Yes, sir. I'll be your daddy today.
Pardon me.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. And then and you have. I mean, there's the Progasm, the MGX.
Yes. Yeah. What they found out, it was interesting. It's like I said, I was there pretty much from the beginning, so I can tell you that. It started with one product at one time. And the idea had been kind of a one size fits all. I think everybody, starts out hoping that will be the case.
Yeah.
But what they determined in fairly short order was that, people had different preferences. There were some people that wanted something that provided a little fuller feeling to it. There's some people that wanted something that had a little bit more aggressive massage to it. There were some people who wanted something that provided more comfort. And for that, we created the Syn Series. But you mentioned the Progasm. So the Progasm is a great product for people who want something that is responsive, provides a fuller feeling, but is also more aggressive at the same time. It's substantially larger. It is the largest product that we make. So, and it is a rigid product. We make a vibrating version of that called the Vice 2. And it looks similar to the Progasm, but it offers a lot of different vibrating modes. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I've seen all these in person again. I've been a big fan, and at Pure Pleasure, we had the brick and mortar back in the day for we just sold it in them. It was the whole line was always our top selling prostate products on the market. And they're you can just tell they're really well made. They're to the point. You can just by looking at them, you can see like there was a lot of research done on this. And I think
I'll say.
You would know. And one of the downsides with a lot of the sex toys on the market is they don't do a lot of research around. There's like, here's a design. I think it'll fit some vulvas and some asses.
Well, that's very astute. I mean, seriously, it sometimes I think it's just, it's some guy that basically sitting around with a sketch pad and says, let's have at it, and they're people that really have no idea, how these things are intended to work.
Yeah. And
when it comes to the prostate play, it's kind of important because if you want to make something that is responsive to someone's own contractions, I hate to say it, but I mean, this is where my physics, training came in from being a pre-med. So there is a whole physics in terms of how these products function, how they move, how they're responsive to the contractions of the body.
There's a science behind it.
There is a science behind it, and it's like with anything else. There's trial and error that occurs with us, like in any other place. But it usually takes us at least 3 years to bring something to the market.
Yeah, you have it tested.
Yes, and so we have to be very confident at the point that we introduce it that it's going to be something that is well received and that suits people's needs. And sometimes it's a particular niche, that we're looking for, that somebody, it's like I said, somebody who wants something that is just really filling, or somebody who wants something that is more responsive than any other product that we make. Mm-hmm. So, ironically, as I said, that's how, when we first made the UFO, that's what that product was all about, making the most responsive product possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for everyone who's listening, interested, if you own a prostate, meaning you are a penis owning individual, and you're not sold on this, well, that's cool. Everyone gets to decide what they're into, but who doesn't want bigger, longer, stronger orgasms, more orgasms, etc.? I think we also still live in a time and culture where people think that our behavior determines our orientation, meaning, if I'm a straight man and if I like anal play, then I must be gay, which is just silly. But there's still people who still have that belief. But I just want to remind all our listeners, it's not the behavior that determines your orientation. No. Yeah.
It's not. It is absolutely not determinative of one's sexual orientation. No. As a matter of fact, to that point, I should tell you that in Aneros, we've done some research over the years on this. And our demographic is about 63% straight, 32% gay, and about 5% in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So this has absolutely nothing to do with this.
This has to do with enhanced pleasure and health, whether it's just solo play for yourself, whether it's for health purposes, whether it's for partner play. So if you all want to check out the Aneros products, you can go to purepleasureshop.com. Just type in the word Aneros, Aneros, or you can look up these products, which will be in the show notes. The Helix Syn, Trident, Syn is Syn. The UFO, that's EUPHO, Syn Trident, the Progasm, the Vice, and there's plenty more on there as well. And use coupon code Shameless Sex, you all get 15% off. And then you can go and explore your ass for anal August. That's your homework, everyone. Go try it out. This is super
homework.
Informative. It was, when we had Charlie Glickman on here, it was very informative. But, he's much more from he does pleasure and health. And so you shared a lot of information that was new to me, as someone's been a sex educator for 12 years. It's just, I really loved everything that you had to share. This is a really, really wonderful offering. And I think that it's perfect timing for good old anal August, everyone. Thank you so much, Forrest. You're awesome.
Absolutely.
And you're obviously living your passion. I am too, but that's great. You started this for health purposes, and then it was pleasure, and now it's part of your career. So
I am having a blast, honestly. And as you can tell, I have a passion about this. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're very, very knowledgeable. And so, I look forward to the day when we can all be at trade shows again. I'll get to see you at a trade show again.
Yes. Yes. I look forward to that.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for learning all about the prostate. Oh, one other thing. Forrest mentioned the Montauk Chia book. He does the multi-orgasmic man and the multi-orgasmic couples in there too.
Yes.
We have that at purepleasureshop.com too, if you want to learn all about that from a Taoist perspective. So, and everyone who listens, let's see, what does April usually say? She's usually the closer. I'm the opener. So she says, number one, if you haven't rated our podcast yet, go to iTunes, give us 5 stars, please, and tell us why you love us. And if you don't love us, we still want 5 stars, but you can always email us and say, here's how you can be better. And we we read everything that you send us. Also, we have a wine sponsor, as you know, April and I are obsessed with wine. We love Margins Wine. It's small boutique batch wine made here in Santa Cruz by a woman-run, owned and operated show. And she does raw wine. It's delicious. Go to marginswine.com. If you look in our show notes, there's coupon codes for 10 to 15% off for bottles of 3 to 6 or more. And what else? What April says, she says, we love you. And she says, dun, 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 dun.
Ciao for now. Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.